We're chatting with the executive director of the Marjorie Barrick Museum of Art on UNLV's campus. That's this week on Nevada Week in Person.
Support for Nevada Week in Person is provided by Senator William H. Hernnstadt and additional supporting sponsors.
From artist in residence at UNLV to curator of the Barrick Museum to executive director, one might say Alisha Kerlin checks all the boxes for leading a museum of art, but Alisha many times can be found working outside the box with respect to what a traditional art museum is and does. From exhibiting and supporting local artists to increasing access to the museum for school kids, I very much welcome Alisha to talk about some of the moves that she's made here at the Barrick Museum and just in the art community in general. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Can I use that intro for my bio? I like that. Thank you.
You want to? Thank you. I wrote that, so that's wonderful. Thank you very much for that. But I want to jump into this right away, and I want to talk a little bit about, I read in your bio, one of your big priorities is really removing barriers to access of art. And I wanted to talk to you first about what are some of those key barriers that you see, first off?
One, I think it is that people don't see that an art museum could be for them. You know, maybe they haven't been before, maybe they don't know how to behave in an art museum, right? Just having access to an art museum here in Las Vegas, with us being the only one, is important, and money too. So we're the only free museum that I know of in Las Vegas, and we're the only art museum, so anybody's welcome to come to the Barrick, and to UNLV. It's an open campus. And so having access to art that isn't trying to sell you something, that maybe is trying to ask you to bring yourself to it so that you're able to learn and teach us about yourself. That's what the Barrick does. And there's not a lot of other places to access that.
It's a great point. I want to come back to the etiquette piece of this, because it really, I mean, I assume there's an etiquette. I mean, there's an etiquette I follow when you go to an art museum, particularly. I mean, is that something that you can teach? I mean, I'm thinking of school kids coming to a museum the first time.
Okay, we love that. School kids, most likely it's their first time, but also college students, it's their first time as well, because maybe they grew up in Vegas and they didn't have access to an art museum. You can teach it, but we don't shame in a way, and we don't walk around and tell people why something is important. We don't say, oh, this is just spinach and you should eat it because it's good for you. We want to hear what they're responding to. So we don't, there's really not a right way to be around art. Please don't break it, hang your coat on it, touch it if it's not allowed. But we're very much into like taking down that, the religious experience of going into an art museum. You must be quiet. We want people to be laughing, be activated by the art that they see. So,
well, and that's interesting because you typically regard a piece of art, at least this is what I've always thought etiquette is, and you kind of internally are going through the dialogue of what the piece means to you and what it might mean and what the artist meant and things like that. And it really does prevent an opportunity of you looking to your side and say, I mean, this is really, this is bringing up a lot of emotion to me. What's it doing for you? I mean, is that what you're trying to do at the museum?
Yeah, it's a place to be social and talk to others, or it's a place to get some quiet, however you want to interact with it. But we do expect, and we want to normalize that you may have feelings. It may make you think about your own life. You may cry, you may laugh, you may go, why is this art? And that's welcome in the space. Especially in an educational setting, we're prepared to have that dialogue, and we actually encourage it. Yeah.
The exhibits at the museum too. I went several years ago, I think before your tenure as executive director, and there was, I would say, more traditional art. It's changed a lot. I was there during the art walk, and the museum has really shifted. What's the point of that shift?
I'm glad you came. It was a busy time. Well, when the pandemic hit, we realized that we were one of the more stable art places in town. We will survive this. And so we opened up the space, divided it into multiple sections to allow different stories and perspectives to be told. And so when you really are listening to the people that live in this city and the people who are making art in this city, you'll find that a painting on the wall, could be completely appropriate for that story, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's a blueprint printed at Kinko's because that's the type of texture and story that that needs to be told. Sometimes the wall is painted like your grandmother's linoleum, giant 10 feet tall, because that's important to the story that that curator wanted to tell. And so you're going to see very different mediums and installs. There's something for everybody there because of that. Because what we do is we lift up what artists want.
Yeah.
Right. I don't have the authority, nor really does anyone, to say like this is the right way to show art. You know, there's rules in every facet of our lives.
Yeah.
Why can't a university art museum just break the rules a little bit?
Break the rules.
You know, be open.
And interesting thing about supporting artists too, being open like that is one way to support artists. I want to kind of come back to not just the museum, but more of the community side of this. Your grade on how well our community does at supporting local artists? What kind of grade would you give us?
Well, one, I would say which community? The community of teachers, like Clark County School District, the community of instructors, full on support the museum. And that support's not money. Sometimes they do. You know, if it's K through 12, we've seen tons of support. But in terms of businesses, the casino support, not so much. Recently, I met with the Cosmopolitan, and they funded a 4-year scholarship for an artist, and that was kind of like, you know, you saw the responses on social media, and it was like, wow, everybody needs to do this. That's a huge deal. You know, they're really investing in the arts, someone's future, you know, and they're getting a mural out of it. And they wanted this person to tell the story about Las Vegas, the diversity of Las Vegas in this creative city. So, long answer. It's not a grade, it's more like, let's see what other areas of this city could help sustain the arts here.
What do you think's missing there? Let's talk a little bit about the corporate side, and I don't want to just draw attention to gaming casinos. We have a lot of other businesses here too as well, but what do you think's missing from maybe some of those businesses seeing the philanthropic or maybe even more of the social or economic benefits of art and supporting local artists?
Maybe the people who grew up in Las Vegas didn't have the field trip to the museum, and they don't have the experience maybe of the value of a museum, right? They could be sitting on boards that judge grants even. But our collection is held in the public trust. And we've had people say want to visit a more private collection, but there's no guide. And you also have to pay something to go see it. At the museum, we're supposed to show it to you. We're supposed to go out of our way to show you the work that we hold in the public's trust. We're for the people. And so maybe there's just a lack of knowledge of what that support could look like. You know, it could be loaning furniture for a care room, for example, paying for one bus to visit the museum so that our city grows up knowing about the arts. It doesn't have to be the multi-million-dollar endowment. That would be nice, but just every little penny and every little gift in kind or volunteering goes a long way, and not just at the museum, for the like little experimental theaters and the little studios and the artists living here.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because, of course, and I want to come to this in your own personal art experience, is that you don't need a ton of money necessarily to support art itself. Of course, maybe an artist, you know, their lives, of course.
Yeah.
But, and I wanted to come to that also. You have said you're an artist first. As we've just been talking about, your executive director speak here comes forth, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, how do you balance those two things? Because you are, as you say, artist first, that is an executive director. How are you able to balance both of those sides of your life, if that makes sense?
A lot of work. The same time that I took this leadership role, I also became a mother. And I experienced imposter syndrome along all those roles. Motherhood, executive director, you know, and an artist. You know, can I make space for myself as an artist if my role in this community is to take care of artists and support and lift up other artists? And so I've done a lot of work, and it wasn't easy. But I know that art is who I am. And I need to make space for that. Is it balanced? Absolutely not.
But have you been able to make space for art?
I've been able to make space, whether it's at my kitchen table or it's, taking a walk, for example, could be part of a practice and communicating with those that I feel most comfortable being creative around.
Yeah.
But yeah, the space, literal space could be small and the time could be 15 minutes.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring attention to that too, because I did read that your breakfast table is your studio. Your canvas, interestingly enough, is junk mail. I thought really interesting. And then your inspiration really are these little snippets of conversations you have with your family and then through your workday. I mean, how do you combine those three, or why is that kind of your medium?
When I lived in New York prior, I was a big oil painter. I came to Vegas and that didn't make sense anymore to me, and I love those grocery ads. And I had a lot of them. The pandemic was, so I started painting on the junk mail, and I liked the way it felt. It felt culturally right to me. It was available. It could be thrown away easily if it didn't work out. And so if I'm on a Zoom call, I might write down something you said, or if my daughter's watching a TV show, I might write down a line, or with this conversation, I'll probably head to my car and make a little note, and that might surface up. It's like fat rising to the surface, right, of a soup, and make its way into a painting.
Gotcha. I'm trying to put the analogy of fat rising to the soup with your experience here on the show, but we'll talk about that. I think
don't really
afterwards.
cook, so I shouldn't use those.
A couple of short questions here. A true Las Vegas experiences for you?
I think going way out to the desert and then coming back and having like a world-class meal, or visiting the Strip, like those extremes.
Those extremes, absolutely, and so many different contrasts that we could list here. The next big thing in Las Vegas will be?
I hope that it's more space for artists to make art, like someone coming through and making studio space for people to do things in non-commercial ways. I think I'm hearing a lot. I think that'll be the next big thing.
That's great, yeah, and per the conversation we had on the regular Nevada Week about those types of installations too. Best thing you like to do on a weekend, so you can't use the same answer you already used?
I garden.
Gardening, really?
Yeah. I'm growing seeds. I have a bunch of raised beds, and I'm gardening.
Wow.
And I could do that. All day long, every day, and I like to feed people and make chard bouquets, and it's the first time I've put roots in. This girl that's traveled around finally put roots down in Vegas, so I get so much out of it.
And I'm going to finish with that. We have about a minute left.
Okay.
You and I do share similarities there, that we were both supposed to be in Las Vegas for a very short amount of time.
Oh, yeah.
You're here for 5 years. I'm here for almost 10.
I'm
now.
here for 10.
Oh, you've been here for 10 too?
10 years. March is 10 years.
Wow. So really, really quickly, I mean, what keeps you here beyond your job?
I will never understand the city, and I'm not done with it. Those contrasts that I explained, I have so much more to learn from this city, and I just love the people, the climate, everything about it.
We're going to leave. We're going to close on that. That's great. Yeah, what a great statement.
Thank you.
Alisha, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Well, Alisha joined us for a spirited conversation on immersive art experiences in Las Vegas on a previous episode. That episode is entitled Las Vegas and the New Art Experience, and you can view it by going to our website at vegaspbs.org/Nevada Week.